Hello and welcome to another exam paper walkthrough. Today we're looking at continuing our look at the series of the Aiming for 7 papers, and today we're doing paper 2. I'm using an old FX82 emulator. If you've got a more modern one, there's no major drama there. And we'll do this in chunks of about 10 questions. I think on the paper it does tell me how many questions we've got. 22, so I might try and cut it 2 videos. Depending on timing wise. Okay, so we'll make a start straight away then. So Ella invests £7,000 for 2 years in an account that pays compound interest. In the first year, it has an interest of 3%. In the second year, it's 1.5%. Work out the value of Ella's investment at the end of 2 years. So this is a bit of an awkward compound interest one in that normally your compound interest is to the power the number of years, but we've actually got the interest rate changing each year. 3% change would be a 1.03 multiplier, and a 1.5% change would be a 1.015. So we're going to be doing 7,000 multiplied by 1.03, and then I'm going to times by 1.015. Could have done it as 2 steps, but I'm just going to do it as 1. So 7,000 multiplied by 1.03 multiplied by 1.015 gives us the value of, as a decimal, £7,318.15. So I'll write that in my answer line, 7,318.15. The mark scheme suggests it is 1 mark for multiplying by that, so we've got an M1, and then second method mark for multiplying by that, and then an A1 for the answer. That's where the 3 marks come from. Okay, question 2 then. So we've got a box in the shape of a cuboid is placed on a horizontal floor. Box exerts 180 newtons on the floor. The box exerts pressure of 187.5 newtons per meter squared on the floor. The face in contact with the floor is a rectangle of length 1.2 meters by x meters. Work out the value of x. Okay, I haven't seen a pressure question like this in a while, so we're going to have to work kind of backwards on this. We're going to realistically, we need to rearrange this to find the area. So if I rearrange this formula to find area is going to be equal to force divided by pressure. So in this case, the area is going to be 1.2x, which is just width times length. And the force is 180, and the pressure is 187.5. So I can be a bit fancy and rearrange this before I type anything into my calculator and just do 180 divided by 187.5 and then multiply that, divide that by 1.2. Or alternatively, I could do that as times by 1.2 there, which is how I'm going to type it into my calculator. So fraction button, 180 divided by 187.5 multiplied by 1.2, and that gives me a value of 4/5. So x is going to be 4/5. The question though is working in decimal, so I'd convert that to decimal of 0.8. And the marks for that, they've broken it down a bit more than me, so they've gone for a method mark for working out the area, which would be that one there, and then a method mark for dividing that by 1.2. Actually, they've called it processing marks, and then an A1 for 0.8. Okay, question 3. A new phone costs £679. The value of the product phone decreases at a rate of 4% per year. Work out the value of the phone after 3 years. So this is a more typical compound interest question. It's unlikely that you'd have it as question 1 and question 3. So if I'm trying to work out a 4% decrease, that would be a multiplier of 0.96. So to work this out, I'm just going to do 679 multiplied by 0.96 to the power 3. So 679 multiplied by 0.96 to the power 3. And that gives me a value of 600 0.7357 ... So I'm going to say that my answer is going to be 600.74. And let's have a look at the mark scheme. What does the mark scheme say? Well, they agree with me with the answer, and they've awarded a method mark for timesing it by 0.96, and then a second method mark for timesing it by that 3 times, or timesing it by cubed. Okay, and question 4. Chanda buys a necklace for £120. She sells the necklace for £135. Work out the percentage profit. So technically, percentage is change divided by the original amount times by 100. But if I just use the amount that she sold it for, my percentage is going to be 100 and something, and then that's just the 100 plus the percentage change. So that gives me, as a fraction, 135 divided by 120 times by 100. As a decimal, 112.5. So as a percentage profit, that's going to be 12.5% profit. And again, marks for that. Interestingly, it looks like they've got the answer wrong. Do you agree with that? Huh? They got 1.25. You got the same as me? Yeah. I think that's right, because their working is the same. They've said, I'll just type in their working. So they've done the amount, which is 15, divided by 100. Divided by 120. And then they've times it by 100. And they've suggested that that's 1.25. So I think they've got the answer wrong. So I would stick with that, and I would go A1 for the 12.5. It's a method 1 here. And arguably, I would give my second method here. But if you've done 135 take away 120 and got 15, you could give the method mark there. And I'll just make a little note on the mark scheme, just because I'm putting the mark scheme on Teams channel as well. So the mark scheme, where are we? There we go. So I think they're decimal points in the wrong place, but no major drama. Right, screen to the wrong way around. So question 5, we've got so 2 sides and an angle. Tells me straight away it's going to be a trig question. Work out the value of x. So if this is the angle, then this side would be the hypotenuse and this side would be the adjacent. So my trig ratio involving a c and a h is going to be cos angle. So, and I want to work out the adjacent. So the adjacent is going to be equal to cos times h. So I would substitute in that x is going to be equal to the cos of 53 multiplied by 14.5. And double check my calculator's on degree mode. So shift mode. There we go. And I want it in 3-degree mode. So I'm doing cos of 53 multiplied by 14.5. And that gives me 8.7263 ... We want it to 3 significant figures. So I'm going for 8.73. And we've got fairly straightforward A1 for the answer, and then method mark if you've got that line there. Right, question 6 then. So we've got our conversion, double conversion it looks like. In Spain, Sam spends €27 for 18 litres of petrol. In Wales, Leo pays £40.80 for 8 gallons of the same petrol type. Sam thinks petrol is cheaper in Spain than in Wales. Is Sam correct? You must show how you got your answer. So this is an awkward question. It's really awkward for the markers because in theory I need to have them in comparable units, but I could have both the units in pounds and gallons, both of them in pounds and litres, both of them in euros and gallons, or both of them in euros and litres. It doesn't really matter. We need to be ready for all four cases. I'm going to convert them into pounds and litres. So to do that, I'm going to start with Sam. So currently I've got 27 euros for 18 litres. So if I convert that into pounds, to convert euros into pounds, I've got my conversion here. 1 euro is 0.85. So I'm going to times that by 0.85. So that will give me 27 times by 0.85. So I basically get 22.95 pounds for 18 litres. And I'll do one more step with this. So I'm going to find out how much petrol he will get for 1 litre. So I'm going to say for £1, instead of doing the price for a litre, doesn't really matter. I'll do the price for 1 litre. So 1 litre of petrol for Sam or Spain will cost me that value divided by 18. So 1 litre will cost me £1.275. And that's Sam's price per litre in Spain. And I need to do the same for Leo or Wales. So I'm going to call it Leo. So for Leo, he starts out with paying £40.80 for 8 gallons. And I want to convert gallons into litres. So 1 gallon is 4.5 litres. So I need times that by 4.5. So 8 times by 4.5 gives me 36 gallons. 36 litres for £40.80. So if I want the price per litre, then I'm going to have to divide that by 36. So if I do 40.8 divided by the answer I just worked out, that gives me 1.13 reoccurring for 1 litre. So which one is cheaper? The petrol that Leo bought was cheaper. So let's look. Sam thinks petrol is cheaper in Spain than in Wales. So Sam was in Spain and Leo was in Wales. Is Sam correct? No. No, petrol is cheaper in Wales. And in terms of marking for this, like I say, there's a lot of different variations for this. You could have worked out the price in pounds and litres, or pounds and gallons, or litres and euros, or gallons and euros. How you convert it is kind of up to you. Either way, then you could have worked it out as a price per gallon, price per litre, price per, or amount per pound, or amount per euro. You can kind of imagine on a mark scheme there's going to be so many different variations, but all of them should end up with, provided your working is correct, no, petrol is cheaper in Wales. So in terms of marking, it is a C1 for Sam is wrong, petrol is cheaper in Wales. And then we go for P1 for any way of converting this one. Actually, it's P1 for a conversion, a P1 for a full conversion of Spain, and then a P1 for a full conversion of Wales. So 3 P marks and 1 C mark. Okay, question 7. Saffron wants to work out an estimate for the total number of fish in a lake. So this is capture-recapture, which I did with my Year 11s yesterday. On Friday, Saffron catches 180 fishes from the lake. She puts a tag on them and puts them back. On Saturday, Saffron catches 305 of the lake. 45 of them have tag. Work out an estimate for the total number of fish in the lake. So I'm going to go, the population out of 180 is going to be equal to the number of fish caught the second time over the number that were tagged. So the estimate for the population in the lake is going to be 305 divided by 45 times by 108. You could have done that a different rearrangement, but essentially we'll get the same value for x, or the population. So 305 divided by 45 would give us that, and then times that by 108 gives us that. And a lot of the GCSE questions do give you a whole number solution for your estimate. The reality is, if you ever do this in real life, you're very likely to get a decimal value though. And they've disagreed with my answer. Just scanning over to see whether I can spot an issue with mine. And I can't. Let me just recalculate, see whether I've made a mistake in something I've typed in. So set up as a fraction, 305. My numerator, 40. You could do it that way, or either way it should work out exactly the same. It just means a different level of rearrangement. Pardon? 1,220. Pardon? What have I typed in wrong then? There we go. I've carried this error through. I put in 108 instead of 180. Got my digits the wrong way around, my 8 and my 0. Let's just rearrange them in the question. There we go. So yeah, I'd just written 108 there, but then written it as 108 there. 1220. So 1220, and marks for that were A1 for the answer. We've then got a P1 and a P1. P1, and then for setting up any ratio, P1. And you could have set it up as 180 over n is equal to 45 over 305 and rearrange that. That would work just the same. Right, question 8. Show that these two lines are parallel. To show that they're parallel, they just need to have the same gradient. So the gradient of that would be 2. Gradient of this one we can't work out straight away. So if I look at L2 and I say 5y is minus 10x plus 4 is equal to 0. If I take the 10x and the plus 4 over to the right-hand side, that would give me 5y is equal to 10x minus 4. And then divide both sides by 5, I'd get y is equal to 2x minus 4/5. So the gradient of that line would be 2 as well. So both lines have a gradient of 2, so are parallel. And I would imagine I only get the marks for showing that they've got the same gradient, but we'll have a look. M1 for rearranging this equation. Oh, they've done a completely different way of doing it. I think they've done a more complicated way. They've done a substitution, then a solve. Don't like. They've got mine as a second method. So we will go for M1 for rearranging the equation, and then an A1 for gradient equals 2 for both lines, so lines are parallel. All right, question 9. So we've got Festival A will be a rectangle field with an area of 80,000 meters squared. The greatest number of people allowed to attend the Festival A is 425. Festival B will have a rectangular field by those dimensions. The greatest number of people allowed to attend Festival B is 6,750. The area per person allowed for Festival B is greater than the area allowed per person for Festival A. How much greater? Give your answer correct to the nearest whole number. So we want the area per person for Festival A is going to be 80,000. Actually, I'm going to do this the other way around. I'm going to start with Festival B. So the area per person for Festival B is going to be 700 times by 2,000 divided by the number of people, 7650. And then technically speaking, I can do this as a single sum. The area for Festival A is going to be 80,000 divided by 425. And I could work them out as separate parts. I'm just going to do it as one single sum though, just to save myself a bit of time. Divided by 6,750, and from that I'm going to subtract another fraction, this time with 80,000 as the numerator and the denominator of 425. So we get 19.17. I'm just scrolling to see whether the mark scheme agrees with me. And it does, yeah. So my answer here is going to be 19.172 ... Giving your answer to the nearest whole number, so my answer is going to be 19. And for part B, Callum says 300 centimeters squared is the same as 3 meters squared because there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter, so you divide by 100. Callum is wrong. Explain why. Well, 1 meter squared is actually equal to 100 centimeters times by 100 centimeters. So it would be equal to 10,000 centimeters squared. So 3 meters squared would be equal to 30,000 centimeters squared. So Callum's method is wrong. Explain why. That's really my explanation. But if I'm going to go for an explanation, I would say 3 meters squared would be equal to 30,000 centimeters squared. Right, marks for that then. If you start with A, for A they are saying, they agree with me for 19. Then you picked up a processing mark for subtracting the two values. A P1 for working out the festival, no, P1 for working out the area of that one. And then a P1 for working out, is it both or just one? At least one. So just for working out the area of one of the area per person for one of the values would have got you the P mark. And then for part B, it says, for example, 300 centimeters squared is 0.3 meters times 0.3 meters. So it's 0.09 meters, or 3 meters is 90,000. Oh. No. Okay, and I think that would work. Right. So they've concentrated on the opposite direction. I concentrated on the 3 meters squared. They've concentrated on the 300 centimeters squared. No major drama there, though. C1. Right. Actually, there's another mistake in the mark scheme, but I'm not going to overly worry about that at this moment. So question 10, we're looking at x cubed to the power 5. That's going to be x to the power 15. We multiply the powers. Expand and simplify. I'm going to do in one step. So I'm going to say 4x minus 14x is going to be minus 10x. Then I'm going to do my number part. 3 times 4 plus 4 times 7 is going to be 12 plus 28. 12 plus 28 is going to be 40. I believe it's going to be that. Yeah, I agree with me. And then for the final part, factorize. So I can take out as a common factor 3x squared as my common factor. That's in both parts. So I need to times 3x squared by 5x, and I need to times 3x squared by y. And that would be my fully factorized version. The mark scheme states we have got for part A, it's a B1 mark. For part B, it's an M1 and an A1, so I'm going to call that my method and an A1. And then for part C, it is it's M1 for taking out any correct factor, and then an A1 for the full correct answer. And I will do question 11 and then I'll stop the video and restart it. Scatter diagram shows information about the amount of rainfall in millimeters, the number of hours of sunshine for each of the 10 English towns on the same day. One of the coordinates is write down the coordinate of the outlier, so that's going to be the outlier because it doesn't match with the rest of the data, and the coordinate of that is 2, 1. Part B. Is there a part B? Part B, ignoring the outlier, describe the relationship between the amount of rainfall and the number of and the hours of sunshine. Careful one to consider here. It doesn't ask you to describe the correlation. You can use the word correlation. You could say there is a negative correlation. There is a negative correlation between rainfall and the number of hours of sunshine. Okay, and then part C. On the same day, in another English town, there were 7 hours of sunshine. Use a scatter diagram to estimate the amount of rainfall. So you're going to pick up 1 mark for drawing a line of best fit here. So line of best fit is a line that best matches the data. So you tend to ignore the outlier. I'm going to say that's my line of best fit, roughly. And I'll have a bound of error on this question, but it says for 7 hours of sunshine. So back to my graph. Number of hours of sunshine, 7. We're looking at line across and then line down. So I'm looking, that looks like roughly 3.2 to me. Okay, and then what does the mark scheme say for this? I'm assuming there'll be a bound of error. So we get, let's go back, we get 1 mark for a B1 mark for the outlier. For B2, it states as the amount of rainfall decreases, the number of hours of sunshine increases. It is just 1 mark for a valid description of the relationship. So in effect, that's absolutely fine. And I didn't say it at the time, but whenever I have to answer a question like this in terms of words, I will very often refer to, I'll stick that at the end of my statement. So I've said there is a negative correlation between the amount of rainfall and the number of hours of sunshine. So I use the question to help me answer it. And then what does it say? It's M1 for a suitable line of best fit. And then an A1, they've gone for 3.5, but they've said accept answers in the range 3 to 4. So anything between 3 and 4 would be fine. B1 for the line of best fit, and then an A1 for your value. Okay.